which was fine. And it was, and the
Pulling up.
whole reason that James found it was he was changing life insurance policies and they required a physical. Part of it was, a colonoscopy. I know, right?
Looks like.
Well, I've got mine scheduled, but it's, as soon as the doctor I wanted to go to can see me is August, so.
Oh, wow.
But I've been doing the Cologuard.
Yeah.
They've come back now.
So that's what he did first, and that came back as, a possible, abnormality. So then he went for the colonoscopy.
They didn't.
And then MRI.
Usually have an executive summary.
Yeah. no.
Well, please let him and Marty know. You feel important here today. I know she's dressed up.
He's gonna practice.
I put on my,
Put on my dress shorts. Yeah.
Did you see what Senator Fetterman going in?
Oh
with
my
the-
goodness.
Oh,
the-
in his basketball shorts and just like a Carhartt pullover.
I know,
Yeah.
Brett showed me, he's like, I'm never dressing up for anything again.
I love it.
Oh,
He shows up to the Senate floor like that.
Oh,
now.
This was at inauguration.
Yeah.
He says like dressing up gives him
Yeah,
anxiety.
have something to play with.
Just, yeah, that's how he rolls.
All right, you might want to.
Senator Fetterman,
Okay.
Pennsylvania.
Okay, we'll call to order the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Item 2, citizen comments and reports. At this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter. Please limit comments to 3 minutes in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. The Planning and Zoning Commission may not discuss or take any action on any item that has not been posted on the agenda. Okay. We have Luke Daly.
Daily, 619 East Avenue B. I'm really glad you're starting to look at the signs in Port Aransas. I think that if you want a high-class community, you've got to look high-class. And a lot of this stuff around Port Aransas does not do that. I think the first approach would be to just make all the people that have signs aware of the sign ordinance. Simplify it so it's easily readable, and then ask for cooperation first. Offer some nice examples of what we're kind of looking for. And there's some people who really have pretty obnoxious signs, and I think we should ask them kindly in the interest of the community to maybe change them or remove them. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see.
Kathy.
We have Kathy Fulton. Sorry, I have a hard time reading that one.
The fancy. It's like-
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kathy Fulton, and I just want to make a quick comment about what's on the agenda about the dune permit over there. I just want to say 30,000 plus square feet of dune. It's a dune destruction permit is what it is. It is not. It seems grossly excessive, and even the mitigation doesn't look quite right. And it doesn't seem to me that the response from urban engineering to Hanson was sufficient for the concern that Hanson had. Anyway, I just think I wish people would look at this closer. It just seems like a lot of destruction of dune. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. No more citizen comments. All right, moving on to item 3, items for consideration. Discuss and take action or pass on any of the following. Item 3.1, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the minutes from January 6th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
So I apologize. I did not realize until this moment that the minutes were not attached to this agenda. They are, you could have still read them because they're part of the previous month, but my guess is you guys didn't do that. So if we want to pass this item on to the next meeting, we can approve multiple minutes at that meeting.
Yeah, that might be best.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Pass it.
We'll pass that on to next meeting. Okay, item 3.2. Discuss and take appropriate action to confirm that Plan 24-13 dune permit for Beach Break RV Park is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. The applicant proposes a development plan that include recreational vehicle lot grading and paving, utility installations, stormwater pond construction, and road construction. Applicant Kelby McCann, property location 700 block of Sandcastle Drive.
So if you guys remember, this is the dune permit that we had taken at the last meeting, that we had some questions about how much of the work was actually done. So we do have some photos here, and I've got Stephen Grunwald with Urban Engineering, who's the applicant. So these photos are on loan from our fellow P and Z member here. Stephen took these drone photos for us, that shows better kind of from the air where that work was done, and that it is kind of behind that line here. That would have, I mean, it's, right up to it, but
Right.
right behind that
Yeah,
line.
when I went out on site, it looked like if there was anything across, it was just wind blown, and
Right.
especially after the winds this past week.
Agreed. When I walked out there on site too, there were some stakes, so. I
We
mean,
tried. Yeah.
That's
definitely-
very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's much better. It's much.
Yep, and I apologize that we didn't have these photos ahead of time. That item wasn't brought to my attention until we were sitting here in that meeting, so.
Well, I'm glad she brought it to us and we were able to go take a closer look.
Absolutely.
So,
So I don't know if you guys have any additional questions for Stephen. I think this was kind of the only question that we had left over from the last meeting.
do we have any?
I do
questions?
not. I mean, we talked about it quite a lot with the exception of where that line was,
Sure.
and that's very helpful.
Besides that, I think everything is in order, so.
Did anyone have any other issues about it?
So
Not
for the rest of you
material?
guys that might not know, we did take this item up at the last meeting. The only question was that work had already started there, and were questioning how close to that line that work had gone, if it had stayed on the good side of that line, if it had crossed over that line. I hadn't seen the site myself in about 3 weeks. When that meeting occurred, we went out that day, we took these photos. Stephen took some drone photos that same day, just to make everybody feel a little bit more comfortable that work did not go beyond the 1,000-foot dune protection line. So we tabled it at the last meeting, brought it back now. Yes, ma'am.
Might want to check on is that there's adequate protection from wind-blown sand. In our neighborhood, the same person did not do good work keeping the sand and sandblast in their neighbors' houses, put up very poor sand, very short sand barrier fence, did not maintain it. It fell down very quickly, and I think in terms of protecting the neighbors, that would be an important thing to keep an eye on.
Absolutely, I agree. I know that we did have an issue out there. I don't know if you guys remember a few months ago where we had a really kind of crazy wind event, 60 mile an hour. We had several wind-blown sand issues all over town. That was one of them too, that code enforcement went and talked to them about. And so it's something that we will stay on top of during the entire construction process. It's something that we talk about with everybody every day.
Okay, can I invite a motion?
I make a motion to approve Plan 2413 dune permit for Beach Break RV development.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, Brenda Owens,
Yes.
Richard Kate,
Yes,
Stephen Wilson,
Yes.
William Straber,
Yes.
and Mike Dan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item 3.3, discuss and take appropriate action to confirm that beachfront dune protection permit plan 24-12 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. The applicant proposes to construct a public beach access road. Applicant City of Port Aransas, property location 5100 block of Highway 361.
So this is the dune permit for the new access road, which I don't think will maintain the name Access Road 1B, so I try to avoid calling it that. If you guys remember, this dune permit came to us, I can't remember if it was October or November, but about that time frame. Passed, went to the GLO, and I'll let Stephen kind of come up and talk about just the minor amendments that needed to be made. I don't think that it was enough actually to bring it all the way back to P and Z, but because we had the time before the next council meeting, I thought it was the right thing to do.
okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon. Stephen Grunwald, Urban Engineering. Yeah, we met with the GLO out there on site. They were questioning maybe there were some areas that we weren't calling critical dunes that would have been impacted by the construction and development of the road. So we just kind of met on site to see it on the ground. A lot of times you look at topography maps and they kind of show one thing, but when you get on the ground, they show another. And we kind of agreed that some other areas in the alignment of the roadway were actually critical dunes. So we adjusted our calculations and exhibits to show those areas to be impacted and increased our mitigation areas to account for that.
It was, David and Stephen and I and Michelle from the GLO walked out there and spent some time on what will be the future access road.
Cool.
That's great.
And as always, you're mitigating, you're adding more sand back than you're taking away slightly.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
On
Just
this one,
a
it's
few
very
yards.
slightly. but-
Yeah, just a few yards, but it's more.
It's
Yes.
more.
So, okay. Do we have any questions over this?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it's great that you guys went out and learned that there was perhaps a little bit more mitigation to be done and brought it back. It's a good thing.
It was
Appreciate it.
kind of a, if you looked at it from one direction, one perspective, we were right, but if you looked at it from the other way, it was kind of one of those that could have gone anyway, so.
I think it could have, and we just made the decision to,
better err on the
not
side of
even,
caution,
not
yeah.
even
You took the
argue.
safer route.
Yeah.
We're gonna mitigate
Yeah.
for it.
That makes sense.
Then we don't have to go back.
Exactly.
Our dunes surely appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Can I invite a motion then?
A motion to approve.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, William Straber.
Aye.
Richard Kay,
Yes.
Stephen Wilson,
Yes.
Brenda Owens.
Yes.
Mike Dan,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, and I just wanted to apologize for not being at the last meeting. I think it's the second P and Z meeting that I've had something on the agenda that I missed in my 20-something year career. I just didn't realize it was on the agenda, so I apologize for not being
Yep,
here.
and and we had the meeting date moved, so I told Stephen it wasn't his fault. It was a lot of different circumstances.
New year, new chance to be perfect.
I'll do my best.
Okay, item 4, Planning and Zoning Commission comments and items for future consideration.
So the February meeting, that is the same time that the city auditors are gonna come. And they typically use this room for their auditing purposes. And there is some training that Laura, our short-term rental specialist, and I are gonna go to regarding the short-term rental software program that we've got. So we are asking that we move that meeting. We always have to move it back rather than forward because of submission deadlines and stuff. So my original suggestion was the 6th of March. But a different day could work too. If everybody can't make it those days.
Didn't someone ask about the 4th?
I originally asked about the 4th and then I rescheduled my son's San Antonio doctor's appointment from the freeze to the 4th of March, so I cannot
So
be
we're
here on the
back on the
4th.
6th.
The 5th would work, the 6th would
The,
work.
the 5th works great. The 6th, I know I had out of town. Was Chad leaving town on the 6th as well?
I can't remember, but I think
Okay.
maybe the 5th might be safer than the 6th.
That's fine.
Mhm.
That's
That
on
works.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
last Wednesday. Step one.
Oh, that's what Wednesday, Ash Wednesday.
That's for Wednesday, the state capitol.
Oh, so yeah.
You're wishing to participate.
Yeah, that's probably not a good,
Not a good day.
not a good day.
3:14 p.m.
Let's do it 4th. What do they have?
We could do it on a Monday.
Monday the 3rd.
Yeah,
Monday the 3rd's fine.
that works.
That's actually works a lot better.
Okay.
Okay, so Monday the 3rd at 3 PM, we'll have that next P and Z meeting.
Yeah, and that was in place of what was the normal date?
February the 27th. February 27th.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
No other items for consideration? Okay, with that, we will adjourn the regular meeting at 3:15 p.m.
And if you guys will just give us a couple minutes to move down there to change the camera direction, we'll start our next meeting.
Are we moving the recorder on?
Yes.
You all volunteered for that. Did you?
I did not,
I didn't either.
but
I did.
we are joining today.
Grab seats.
Thank you, dear.
Yes.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. For some reason the signs got me,
Is that right?
I don't know why.
Cool.
Even worse, everything is harder.
I doubt you.
Did you get it?
You don't hang out with that.
All right, guys. Yep, I'm gonna pass this sign around. Sorry, put your name on it, don't do it again, but I'm not. Unless you wanted to do double homework.
There is.
But you got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you're good.
Yeah, you meet with that.
You have 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Next one in 4 weeks.
It's February.
All right, so, most of you guys know from the council meetings and the previous meetings that the sign ordinance, needs to be updated for constitutionality purposes. There was a constitutional case, Reed versus the city of Gilbert, that happened in 2014. Started to make sign ordinance changes, the hurricane happened, that went on the very back burner. Thankfully now we're starting to pull stuff off the back burner. So the ultimate goal of the sign ordinance is to update it to meet the constitutionality standards that it needs to. But because that's gonna involve redoing kind of our whole sign ordinance, it's a good opportunity to take this time to see if we want to make any additional changes. So, my suggestion is that this takes, the next couple of months, that maybe we meet every couple of weeks. We come up with an ordinance that we present to planning and zoning. And plus your planning and zoning is here, so I don't think that there's gonna be. And then it goes to city council for 3 readings, and so that would put a final ordinance with everything follows that timeline done, you know, at the kind of the beginning of something. That way, if we want any changes to happen with new stuff in the time we're moving forward, we can, or if we want to write in any, you know, sunset clauses instead of grandfathering or do anything like that for the beginning of the next year, there's plenty of time for a business to come into the point. That takes care of number 1 and 2 on the agenda. And so number 3 is just kind of when those meetings are gonna happen. I think that's important to kind of set up together, make sure everybody can attend as many meetings as possible. Because we did change the PNCD to the 3rd instead of the 6th, that 3rd meeting, I would like to say happen on March 3rd. But those first 2 meetings, February 6th, which is 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks after that, and then March 3rd, and then a final ordinance hopefully going to PNC on March 25th. That's what I'm thinking. I'm opening up the table to see if any of those dates don't work. A time will be better at a different time. If I were to do that.
There are. I don't remember.
Everybody else. The big order.
Don't get close out.
Okay. Yeah, if we wanted to change it to a different day, but it not so much of our basis. We can do that. Those again, we're just. Yes, ma'am.
Were you adding more members of the public today?
Everybody from the public is definitely on the set now, and be a part of it as well. I mean, any time you want to chime in, chime in. If you want any of these packets, there's some extras over on the table.
And, is there anybody here representing the garden club? I thought they might be quite helpful.
So they put a story in the paper this week or last week, I can't remember, inviting people to come to these meetings. This one definitely is just kind of an organizational meeting. Okay. So I would think that the next one would probably be the more important ones for people to start coming and being part of.
Nicole, and I'm fine with the overall timeline, but if the goal is to be a 2 to 3 month process, I think that meeting every 2 weeks is gonna be pretty labor intensive for most of us in this room, just because we probably already all go to 50 meetings all the time. And most of us work and, you know, things like that. So I guess that's my question is, are these meetings meant to be 45 minutes to, you know, hit it hard and then come back quickly so everything's fresh in our mind and then to get it done quickly? Or is it just because every 2 weeks for 3 months is it's a lot of meetings?
It's just 3 meetings.
Okay, but you said like all the way through. So it's not, you don't want to physically do 2 months of workshop meetings, you're just
I want to
3
do-
intensive
Correct.
workshop meetings.
After today, 3 intensive workshop meetings, maybe an hour and a half, and maybe some homework. Read or come back like. Some additional discussion. You think that was too much? You wanna spread that out?
No, I just want to make sure that it's clear that we're not, that then there's not going to be additional meetings between just when the regular ordinance is read and it's in the process. Because we've been through this before, right? I mean, some of us have been through this before and it's. And we went all the way to the finish line and they did not, so, right,
Which is
and which is
why
fine,
we
you know,
invited the-
but yeah.
So the people that are voting on it may. Kind of alleviate those things.
There's only one.
And they're all available on YouTube. Okay, you guys want to switch that one since it's a council day on the 20th?
Yeah. So maybe we just have that one on February 26th and then maybe. 26th.
6th of February,
So not start anything until the end of February?
the first one on this.
Well, I had the first one on the 6th, okay. And then the next one like on the 26th, 27th.
Well, I'm gonna be gone the 26th, we just changed our P and Z meeting because of that, so I could do the 25th.
25th, 27th.
The 25th work better for you guys on the 20th? February 25th? Yeah.
You moved the
So
third meeting to the third, right?
to the 3rd, yes, ma'am. So the first meeting will be, and I'll send this all out via email. So that nobody has to memorize it right now. First meeting on the 6th. Second meeting on the 25th. Third meeting on the 3rd of March. Third.
Okay, the third. So the same, okay.
I think 3 o'clock is appropriate for you.
And will you have, when you said the ordinance goes to P and Z on the 27th, will you have a P and Z meeting that goes to the previous one, that's the 3rd, 27th, because again, that time.
The actual discussion and vote at meeting, before that ordinance. And of course, there's.
Right. Oh, okay.
So it is ambitious.
You are, I just question.
All the writing is on my part, which is not for you guys.
You already have an outline of what you want to do to make, like, basic changes that where we're gonna submit suggestions or.
Correct. So today, what my goal is all best practices that I read about updating the sign ordinance is to be very clear about kind of what we call the whereases in our resolutions, the things that, the reasons that you are regulating. So that's what I'm asking for you guys to kind of brainstorm and come up with today is the reason that the city of Port Aransas wants to regulate and, have this ordinance about signs. Beauty, traffic safety, all of those things. I'll write something and bring that back next meeting. Next meeting, I will also have an outline of everything that I think needs to change in our ordinance to meet the constitutionality issues and some suggestions on how to do that. Another thing that I would like for you guys to kind of brainstorm and give me ideas about are just general changes that maybe you want to see to the Port Aransas sign ordinance. Things that might be allowed right now that shouldn't be, or that aren't allowed that should be. And then, we'll bring some wording back to you guys next week.
Nicole, would you mind just summarizing the kind of reason for this, like the Supreme Court rulings, in other words?
Sure.
What that cover and what happened? So,
Yeah,
not
so
just release.
it was, and in your packet here as kind of homework to take home, it is, some general explanation for that. I will preface that by saying I don't normally get my information from Wikipedia. But that was the simplest, non-legal use words to give you guys that you wouldn't use the source. It's very simple language and it was very accurate. So you've got two cases in there. One is the Free versus the town of Gilbert. And what it was is it was a church that was putting up temporary directional signs. And the city was citing them for that, telling them that they were leaving them up too long. But there was other signs that, maybe just had a political message or some other kind of message. I don't remember what those signs were, that were allowed to stay up all the time. And so that's why they said, well, you have to read our sign to tell us if it's illegal. So you're allowing this sign to be there because it has this message on it, but you're not allowing this sign to be on there that has this message. So it's a content-based ordinance that they've had. And the Supreme Court ruled that unconstitutional. In the discussions that I gave you, sort of take home and read too, there's a page on it that says hindsight, the 2020 issue. It goes over really well some different things that cities need to do in order to meet that constitutionality. Our sign ordinance is broken down in a way that would be ruled unconstitutional if somebody is following. Political signs are allowed to be this big. Real estate signs are allowed to be this big. Commercial signs are allowed to be this big. We can't have different rules for different people. Everybody has to have it. So there are things we can still regulate, size, use, where it is, zoning districts, on premise, off premise. There's another court case in there that has really gone back and forth. Originally, there was a district court that ruled that, not allowing off premise signs was okay. And then the Fifth Circuit Court said not okay. And then the Supreme Court came back and said okay. So it's evolving constantly. That was in 2021. So I think we have kind of that discussion about off premise signs and how we want to, we could write it in a way that if it were ever deemed unconstitutional later, we can change that pretty easily in our ordinance. All right, so I guess my first order of business is kind of determining why we want to regulate signs in the city of Port Aransas, so we can write that preamble to our ordinance.
Beautification. Consistency is a big thing.
Traffic safety is always a big deal.
Speaking of previous songs, I was just trying to integrity.
I would not ever see every day when I went to work. And I was like,
But there should be a certain distance requirement from stop signs at corners or intersections.
You know, at one time. A lot of that's.
But we'll get into, yeah, we'll get into that, a lot of those things, but those are the important things too.
To their point, one ordinance covers the visibility of intersection.
There's that corner where it's. Yeah.
Over eliminated.
When there was, I don't know if it's an actual ordinance, but. An official said, like, you can have a flashing, open the sign, and that is street striking.
That is
Your
our
driveway.
ordinance.
Yeah. something.
St. Carlo Battle.
Yeah,
Carlo
that's gonna be
Battle,
solid.
many flashing.
Yeah, I mean, it can be distracting at night, especially.
So this is, like the city of San Antonio, what there says, provide minimum standards to protect the life, health, safety, property, welfare, convenience, and enjoyment of the general public by regulating and controlling the design, quality of materials, construction, erection, location, electrification, light use, maintenance, and safe transportation, pole signs, and structures, as well as, sign operators and public license and period lots. It is not. I'm going to bring you guys some wording that's similar to that.
Yeah. City of San Antonio. That's all I get today.
So I've got some good preambles to other ordinances. I've got a model sign ordinance here. So what I'm hearing from you guys is beautification, consistency, traffic safety, structural integrity, safety. So, kind of putting the reason heavily on safety, design aesthetics, beautification.
Speak with, reviewing to reconcile with an existing code, with not just signs, but like lighting, like expose.
Yeah.
And make them there, things like that. That,
Sure.
Put out the sign ordinance and then come back to the code says this and sign everything, so that's.
Yeah, we'll be careful about that.
That's. It'd be nice if we could remember our comprehensive plan, James, and part of that is about some of the lighting and stuff in there, and also there are some things. Remarks in there about signage, to try, especially for all, so, or whatever we're designating as. Some policy.
So what I'll do is I'll take kind of our brainstorms here. Write that preamble, get that going to kind of get us on the right track. Get you guys to approve that portion of it. So I will go through our sign ordinance, which you also have in your packet, the result of the last page of that. So kind of familiarize yourself with that. After you read the other attachments that are in there, you'll kind of understand, hopefully understand better what we are and aren't allowed to do. So when we are saying things, so don't see kind of the flagrant issues that we've got. That we've got there.
Proper wording of the signs.
All right.
Languages that only more talking.
Over that, I don't think so, because that is on.
I didn't know.
So the minute that any of our people, anybody has to read a sign, whether it's allowed or not allowed. That maybe it's.
Maybe you have apostrophes.
Yeah,
because the correct reader.
I think.
That's why I agree to participate.
We can create little.
Stickers.
The-
Maybe we just need to make a Facebook page to shame people.
Yeah.
That's.
Okay, so then kind of, I wanted to open up the floor to see constitutionality issues aside. If you guys were just to be recreating the sign ordinance, what kind of things would you want to see or not to see based on what we have going on for you?
I mean, I just wonder like what, there's so many different types of signs. So there's sandwich boards, there's feather flags, there's. And a lot of those are obstructing traffic too. So I mean, maybe, I don't know if we look at, I also think, and one of the things that wasn't mentioned in San Antonio's mission is, I mean. People that own these signs are also trying to protect their business, right? So, I mean, I want to be. Aware of that as
Oh, yeah.
well, but I mean, but also all the other things, like you want consistency, you want your, like Luke said, you want your town to be wonderful and pretty, and. But anyway, just all those different types of signs, where can they be, and at what time can they be there, and you know.
Maybe how many for business, we can say it, because sometimes you've got like 5 families for one place, but.
Yeah.
And well, some businesses have 5 businesses, like I think the strip center sign part is terrible. You get one gets one big 4x8, and all the other businesses get 2x4s or 2x8s.
As they're trying to change that.
Well, I'm saying, so I'm saying, that I just feel like the first person gets their sign up there, like Ace Hardware on their strip center has a big one, and then Subway Sandwich has a little tiny one. And the thing is, the signs aren't for us, we know where all the stuff is, it's for the people coming.
So it helps both the people coming into town to spend money in our town, and it helps those businesses to make that money. So signs are hugely important. And even being comfortable with signs, I think is just as important.
I think it's okay if somebody's having a sales, they'll find out, but some of these businesses have these signs that are very distracting, and you're trying to read all of them while you're driving. Yeah, a sale sign, yeah, what, I do it on a day you have a sale, but take it down when you don't, I mean, you know, it's.
Well, maybe that's it, the temporary signage.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Well, we had those flipboards or the A-frames, whatever you wanna call them, that were out, and I think city was okay with that, but everybody's sticking in the walkway with the sidewalks.
Right.
And that was where the problem was, I think it came down to this, that code enforcement, we were going around for a while, picking them up and kind of destroying them or holding them hostage until people came and got them, but I think.
Well, we definitely, so since Carly's been here since 2014, I've been here just a little bit longer than that. So there was definitely a time where a lot of those apron signs were in the right of way. But I can't think of any time that we picked them up. We would always contact the people and say, you need to move your sign up right away. And people were, I mean, they did it, I mean, without question of most of the time, but I know for months and months, that was a kind of a weekly, daily thing with some people. So I think those sandwich boards, so, I mean, we like the sandwich sign and the apron sign.
We want to keep our saltiness, but we want to be in and out.
And I think too, I would like to see some kind of control put on maybe primarily residential areas versus commercial areas. I mean, I don't think we have so much of that problem right now, but I would hate to all of a sudden see an area that's primarily residential, all of a sudden gets cluttered with signs of some sort because it meets code, right? And then
It counted that though, it seems with the city's short-term rental thing where it has that big sign out in the call, you drive up the neighborhood and every balcony has a big, 4x4 sign out in front of it.
Right.
Quite happy.
I do have.
And that's something, I mean, that's something we can consider. You're right, every 4x8 sign, creates more litter or more, it takes up more space wherever it is, but. The other thing, because I know we want to be respectful of lighting and, kind of our, if we're trying to do a dark sky initiative or not, whatever it is, but. I think that, if other cities are successful and this is consideration, maybe there's a certain daytime, nighttime sign lit ordinance period. Does that make sense? So if that's a possibility, maybe You know, if everything's not lit up all night long, maybe there's a time where like, if your business, yes, if your business closes at 2 a.m. You know, maybe there are certain signs that you have that go dark. 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'm not picking on anybody, I'm not making that suggestion, but rather than, if we do consider any further allowances for digital signs, again, not saying that we should, but if that's something we look into, because we did look into it before, you know, all those years ago, then I think that we should consider that some kind of daytime, nighttime curfew, if you will, on keeping lit signs.
But open or closed.
Open or closed, yeah, I mean, right, I mean, I'm not gonna, if you're primarily nighttime business, I'm not saying your sign should be dark in the middle of the night, you know, but, you know.
When you're open, your sign can be on, when you're closed, your sign should be off.
Really like some of the neon signs.
Yes.
That are in the windows.
Yeah, not that your business should be totally dark all night, but I just think there's, particularly, again, I'm trying to think about people that live probably, and I know Port Aransas is a hodgepodge of places everywhere, but if you live closer to a commercial district, which.
Last time we
That
talked
probably goes
about.
into lighting somewhat, but.
No, I mean, the lighting and signs is in the sign portion.
Right.
Go back.
Yeah, last time we talked about this next, they wanted to put that kind of signs and somebody drove down Alistair and took the pictures of all the signs. But it would look like a Vegas strip, you know, so I mean, maybe there's some areas that are good, there's some good. and-
They say that, but they're not giving those signs away, so you're not gonna have 1,000 of them on the street. And I will say the
I
fact
didn't
that
say
looks like,
1,000.
one, the fact that the flip side of that, when we had this.
You could look at it, though.
Flip signs or change letter signs, whatever, and then you have wind blow through what you have here, and all of a sudden, you know. You would have weird sayings or things, just they.
Or they change.
Or people go there and vandalize them, yeah.
Or people, I keep world the day that said welcome.
They had approved that sign, so. Yeah, now the sign, the letters really do stand. Yes,
But again, now it's also, with those labor shortages, getting some people out there and put the signs and change it every day or whatever. I'm not saying that that's reason not to, but I mean, there is a reason why people are going to electric. And I just think that if you're gonna allow one and not the other, that's crazy. I mean, because basically they're doing the same thing.
And if you saw that the city of Port Aransas has to reel out to the front when they change their sign, you would be like, what is that?
And there might
It is a tray of, I mean, you probably have, you know, some of the y'all's businesses, I mean, it's quite the operation to change those, you know.
Yeah. And at the theater, we have a little lady that gives
Yes.
us a letter that changes it.
We have the slots. They all go in our room, we sit there and line it all out, and then we just got a pole and just go out there and take it.
So there might be, and I am going to have some good conversations with my clients or city attorney. Prior to probably the next meeting, maybe the meeting after that. We do allow the digital changing signs for gas stations specifically. I don't think that it's always be appropriate to allow it for them and not allow it for someone else. That might be a conversation that we have to have. As far as, you know, those specific, but it's very size specific for gas stations. So it might be a conversation we'll have to have. We'll get that information.
On the signs where we're driving around and looking. We understand the ones that are out by the street, the ones that are already permanently. In place sitting there. What about signs that are on windows? In some beach communities, your window is only a display in, you cannot cover it or put a sign.
So the current ordinance does not have any restriction on signs attached to the building. In windows.
Are we
attached
supposed to
the
be
building.
looking at that in our sign ordinance?
To update it to the constitutionality issues, that's, I don't think an issue. But if it's something that we want to amend because we're amending the whole sign ordinance, that would be a decision because.
Doesn't that start falling under like painting your building?
I mean,
And then that
people
becomes a-
definitely regulate signs in the window, other cities regulate signs that are in your window on your building.
Well,
so
let's
that-
go more along the lines of, the straw who paints on the windows, like the Merry Christmas.
IGA does it Merry Christmas.
Yeah, so,
Is that a sign and that's something we're to continue to say,
So we can.
yes, you're allowed or no, you're not?
We can define that to be a sign and allowed or not allowed. Currently, we allow that completely without restriction.
Or is that considered just decorative for the business owner?
I think that's getting into a lawsuit or a legal
I mean,
ground where
you know.
someone's gonna fight you.
You could definitely define art differently than you could define signs, but you could also include that in your window, include anything in your windows as part of being regulated by your sign ordinance. Is it something we wanna do?
Short-term rental signs don't have anywhere to go but in a window.
Right. For some time. Something we should probably consider on design sizes. Or maybe create zones in certain streets in certain areas of town. That's one thing to have a full-size billboard out 361 development, but obviously we wouldn't want to put that in the middle of Alistair. Or allow that in Alistair. But, is there a sign on Alistair would probably be considerably different than one that would be put up on station.
Absolutely. So, the sign ordinance, the part of kind of the ruling from the Supreme Court is that you can still do it by districts, by zoning districts. We've got zoning districts pretty well built in. So if we want to change any of that, that would require a lot more effort. And I think, we want this to be right now. With our landscaping ordinance, we had an entry corridor. And so we could copy something like that. And have, a set of regulations for different zoning districts and then also that entry corridor. And that comes down 361 and around the middle circle.
Just a question, and again, not every flood family, did the original sign ordinance have a size based on RFP?
It does
So
have a
it's kind of the
45
same.
mile an hour and a 55 mile an hour, because that's not content based. Anybody that has anything out there can have a sign that size. I think if we stuck to that, and there's definitely science behind that, but I can support that. If there's that kind of.
That's kind of good around your zoning, your districts, like just.
Right.
So does that dictate the height of the sign presently?
The,
So we have some signs in other areas that are 100 feet up on the pole. Obviously, we don't have any of those here. Is that regulated by speed in the current ordinance?
in our current ordinance, a portion of it is regulated by speed.
So on the back end of this, let's say, say, can't have a 100-foot sign, you have to have a 50-foot sign, then the person with 100-footer need to chop theirs in half.
We can make that determination. That's why I was saying the sunset versus the grandfathering. That's another conversation that I think that, P&Z has to have as a whole and council has to have as a whole, whether they want to, tell people we've got this much amount of time to kind of meet that. Standard practice is typically if somebody has something, self-development. If their sign is not,
Leave it until they have to change their.
leave it until they have to change it. But if it's something like a banner and you guys don't have banners anymore, that's something that I think we could make the argument, but that's not really the item.
Temporary versus the permanent.
So I think you definitely take that into account, and you're determining what you want to allow people to keep doing the ordinance that you write versus what you might have them.
I can overrule previous grandfather.
Yeah, I mean, if you start saying, hey, we're gonna sunset all the time, no light, you're gonna have the city fighting lawsuits in the next 10 years.
As well as holiday is content based, so like your strong stuff, but that we can.
Anytime you have to look at it, so if I had to look at a picture and determine how that's a Christmas picture or an Easter picture. You have to determine holidays, it gets pretty dicey. So there's ways that you can write things to get what you want written right away. For the way that you want.
Personally appreciate your holiday.
You need. Strong. We should take credit for it.
All right, so are there any other big things that people don't like that's currently going on in the city?
Yeah, let's don't open another can.
Yeah.
What's the current ordinance on like language? I mean, is it prohibited to have curse words or ugly, nasty words? I mean,
No, we, battled
Is it what?
we battled RV on, Steve that had
Yeah.
quite a bit of bad language. We've got some other houses, thankfully, that kind of tucked back, where we have to obviously be going, you know, people don't accidentally go by some of these signs, that we've gotten, so, I mean, we must have. gotten hundreds of
Flags
flags.
dangling that passed the one down the main street.
So flags are allowed right now without any restriction.
I mean,
Things like
just
that.
doing one eyelet and you can't tell it's an American flag, it's not flying, it's just wrapped around the pole dangling, and it's on our main street. So when we go to.
But you're talking about
wayfinding-
an actual flag.
Actual American flag.
That's a Facebook complaint.
Okay. So when we
Same
think of beautification and coming into wayfinding, are we trying to stiff it up a little since we are stiffing it up a little by what we're doing? Or are we trying to keep it the way it's always been without, everybody's got a nice fresh sign looking? The spirit in which we should look at these issues.
Should tell me that.
I'm asking of the group, we're trying to create an image. Correct? So should we be reflective of? Because you can go to people and look at a sign and just ask 10 people, is that a tacky sign? Well, we don't have any coverage for tackiness.
Right, and so people that call and complain about kind of tacky signs, no, we say, this is the way that we're.
We allow
doing
tacky signs.
it does not disallow tacky signs.
Right.
Go talk to city council.
So when we're
They want the
looking,
ordinance
but when we're looking and being extra observant, and we see something that, that's a good sign. It looks good, it belongs right, we don't care what the message is.
So if during this kind of gap between our next meeting, take a look at all of the signs, see what signs you like, what signs you don't like. Try to ignore the message that's on the sign and see the actual sign, see, you know, what is it about this sign that I like, what is it about this sign that I don't like? And come back with that, or send me an email.
With the same lines, the maintenance signs, if the payment sign, things that are actually should be followed.
Sure. I think that we could write things into the ordinance to tighten that up a lot.
I think it can be somewhat conflicting too, because like you say, there's lots of different perspectives on what is tacky, what is not, but I think back on Jay's Seafood and Spaghetti Works, and they had, and this might be something that wasn't exactly signs in our city ordinance, but at one time, everybody was upset about the sharks and the mermaids on all the buildings, and so we made some changes there. But that meant that Jay's little fork with the shrimp on it could not be replaced when that was in need of replacement, and that was like that was an iconic part of Port Aransas, but what we said was, you can't, we don't like that. And so he couldn't put that back, and so it's like, it's hard because for me, I'm like, well, I like that one, but I don't like that one.
Well, that's-
And so, yeah.
But at the same point, it's like your house, you go to the neighborhood and someone painted their house fluorescent yellow, you're like, wow, that's really awful and tacky. And then the next one over there, which is like a dark brown, you don't even see it, like, oh, that's a nice looking house. But that's just a matter of opinion.
It's
And
just your perspective.
if you like bright colors or like, you know, yellow,
Yeah.
like our store, you know, some people love that color, so like, oh, it's terrible. So.
Yeah, but I thought we can categorize things and then think of, visualize one thing that would fit in that category and be like, that would be okay, and then visualize another thing that would also fit in that category and be like, so it is, and for me, it will be probably somewhat of a struggle to be helpful.
I think the key is we don't want to create something that doesn't allow creativity, doesn't keep it salty, you know, we don't all want to live a life. Well, we still want to look like an island town.
The more regulation, it tends to more of the same. So, yeah, you know.
Kind of lose the island flair.
Correct.
Yeah, we don't want to lose that.
We don't want to lose the island flair.
I mean, can you imagine gas getting restricted to a sign with this big? You know?
Yeah, no, I was right.
Only take it.
Big, and that goes back to the
Everybody
grandfather.
there.
Yes. big
Or you're like,
grandfather.
And your
Grandfather has
crazy
to say.
chicken guy, like, I know,
Yeah.
is he allowed to be in
Or.
your permit?
Version.
What it says,
Is everyone allowed to have a big one?
That's the last thing.
Basically, you need-
You start having people come out of the work.
Right, everything. Yeah, but it will, I think,
One of those caught my attention driving in, and just.
yeah, there's looking at it. Yeah, there's drawings that are painting on buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, is it hard? It's not really, you just.
Right now, nothing on the building is right. I mean, obviously,
So
if
we're not-
it's an attachment, we permitted, we do everything properly, but we don't allow them to.
What's painted on buildings.
You tell me.
That's considered restoration.
Right. So,
That's a whole different.
a prime example, in Austin, from our, Beale Street, there's a restaurant. And it's become iconic, it's actual graffiti, and I love. And love you so much.
Yeah.
And everybody
Couple of
thinks
them.
that.
And
Hi, how are you?
it got faced one time in Austin on the, in riots, like we chip it in GoFundMe to go repaint graffiti. But, you know, and one person, you know, somebody, business owners wanted to put, I love oysters so much. You know, perhaps somebody, I know there would be someone, that's the ugliest damn thing ever, it's graffiti. But, you know, it's art. You would think it, you know, yeah. But, you know, that's where it's hard to discern whether it's, you know, I'm sure when somebody first put that, I love you so much up there, the building owner, we need to scrub that off. You know, all of a sudden everybody's coming to that.
And their profits are up by 9%.
It's impacting.
Yeah.
But it's iconic, sir.
At some point, you gotta define sign.
And by the way, I'm not advocating following Austin, you know, like.
You want to say, but are you asking us to go graffiti or building? Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the aesthetic.
I'll write Iowa's those.
Free oysters for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, just got anyone that displays the right level of service.
But not too it's important to look at it, in my opinion, anyway, from what your question was, is to look at any sign, no matter what sign. And just, does this seem to be legally compliant according to not our ordinances, but the actual law. Constitution. And then after that, you know, we can't, it's very difficult to dictate taste is the thing. So, you know, my taste is gonna be different from yours, it's gonna be different from Tanya's, it's good, you know, that's just the way it is. So if you might see my whatever as being a bit tacky, I may think it's funny. Right. Okay, so we're, you know, that's where the content part of that law comes in.
But we don't want to lose the uniqueness.
Right.
So
What's been here that's been good.
But we do want to watch things like sign color and quantity. That's what recently-
Yeah. And I think just like we work towards our landscape ordinance to make sure people mow and they don't have weeds and that kind of thing, I think that needs to be the focus with the signs. And I think that we regulated signs and told people they couldn't do this, this and this, and all of a sudden banners became a thing. And now there's a lot of them everywhere. And a lot of them, in my opinion, are safety concerns because they're long things and they leave them totally tattered. So
They've been
that,
there 2 years.
right.
I understand, going out of business sign, I understand, we're open now, but are we gonna sit there and say, if you put up a banner, it's good for this,
So they,
or no?
the Supreme Court ruling does allow for time and place, so you could have an allowance for a temporary sign, again, you can't say. You know, what that can say or what that looks like, but that's how people are kind of allowing political signs as a temporary. You have to be careful on how you word. How long it can be there, when it can be there, real estate signs is another one that's a temporary sign, so you have. These are definitely things that we have to think about. Those are already sign allowances in here, so the next meeting, that's what we're gonna have broken out, like, this is what we allow. This is why it's not constitutional, this is how I think we need to change it.
Yeah, and some places have signs, nice signs, and they have a chalkboard for the specials, and then they have banners. So, I mean,
So I think what we're looking for, I think what city council is looking for from all of us is to kind of say, you know, should that still be the case? You know, should all of those allowances still be allotted for every single business? Do we need to change any of that?
I know on some of the banners, a lot of the businesses, they take them out. They put them up at night and then put them out instead, but it's those few that don't. That kind of ruins it for everybody.
Right.
So do we punish everybody because of a few, or do we come up with?
So right now, that's not a rule. I mean, that's not part of the ordinance that they have to be taken down and put back up every day. If that was a rule, would the tattered ones get taken care of, or is somebody gonna go out and put a tattered flag back up? You know, that's gonna be the person. But there's things that we could write in there that would allow that. It becomes an enforcement situation where we have to be way more heavily enforced. We have to enforce our signs a lot more,
Is the
and in different ways
enforcement-
than we have, and
is
we
the-
have not been enforcing
Well, it's up. Yeah.
fully signs because of these constitutional issues, because it was, you know, let's pull back on our enforcement until we can get the sign updated, sign ordinance updated, and that just kept pushing further.
Other than constitutionality, court cases. When it comes to enforcement. Are we enforcing what we currently have on our books, or has it gotten out of hand to the point of?
Mostly.
There are a lot of things that we are enforcing still,
On sign, okay. So
but there are some things that we have taken a step back from.
Perhaps to address the quantity of signs.
Yeah,
for
we'll
any given-
Can you limit the number of
So-
lines per business?
Absolutely, you can limit the number of signs per lot frontage for,
Okay.
because
I was
it's
gonna
not,
say,
it's not
I'm sure.
content based, you're not saying
So
this
perhaps,
sign is limited because this kind of sign, this sign is limited because it's, you can't have that many because this is the frontage you have.
I was going to suggest perhaps tying the number of parking spaces allowed for that distance.
So again,
Tying the square footage of sign or number of signs. To the number of parking spaces per business. Bigger business might be able to handle more signs, smaller business, you know, 27 signs. Parking.
yeah, so that's a good way to think about it, and there's some really science-based model sign ordinances that take a lot of that into consideration, what's good for traffic safety, what's good for, you know, general aesthetics, not in science factor, not, you're just, you know, what is appealing to the eye. That I did not do tonight, because I had enough homework, and that's what we decided that we'll probably look at.
Somebody actually said, I want to grow a gate.
Sign by it says each.
Oh,
Business is allowed. Hopefully no.
Different spelling.
And unfortunately, there's are all lines and nobody can see it.
Right now is I didn't catch the part, when it comes to whatever you wanna call it. Highly offensive language, you know, most language that we would normally say to each other unless we were really good friends.
Well,
really not. No, I like the other minute.
There was a Supreme Court case years and years ago, I mean decades ago, with that somebody wore a shirt into a court hearing that said, fuck the draft. And he got arrested, he went to jail. This made its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court justice that wrote the opinion on that wrote, one man's vulgarity is another man's clarity. And you can't, we cannot, if the Islander wanted to put that on his sign, we cannot stop him.
Don't worry, you won't.
That's why I used
Well, not
to.
that.
I know what you're giving you.
The First Amendment really, the only limits of the First Amendment is like threatening language.
Yep.
Hate language, but besides that, vulgarity, that's.
So I think that we could stop it if it was,
Yeah.
F you David Parson. F you Porter Andrews police, you know, inciting violence, inciting.
Even that
hate.
would probably cover states, you know, death to Porter Rands police or something,
Yeah.
that is not covered by First Amendment. But
Yeah.
if you Porter Rands is,
Yeah.
you know, police or something, that actually is pretty steep.
Probably.
Yeah, would probably, yeah.
So say,
Not
that's
very-
what it's intent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And gender, but obviously it's not related. I know that Steve had a bunch of like sex shop and other orders that they couldn't be so close to school and they couldn't have a sign and all that. How was that? Is that all gone off the window with some constitutionality?
No, so the constitutionality thing that we're dealing with is specifically sign related. If somebody wants to take their have a sex shop, close to a school through the court system?
No, but I thought
That
the
makes
city also said they couldn't come on, so they couldn't.
You can't have.
You can't have it.
signs close to a school, is that what you're getting?
Well, I guess that or just how is that, I guess if you have, and I don't have sex shop on this period. Like, you know, like, part of it could be so close to school, but also they couldn't advertise, they couldn't have signage out, if I remember correctly.
Right now, basically, those shops are not allowed to be. According to our city ordinance, so by default, they can't also have signs.
No, I was just curious as to if
If it
that's
go
something that
down.
was in in the sign ordinance, did that need to be updated, because obviously if you can. Have, you know, as I says, that with police, you probably have, you know, sex toys, sold here.
Now it gets down to, I think there's some obscenity allowances that would stop like. Things from being depicted on the sign, that you could stop, but is that not allowed, business type here, I don't. think that I really-
That's fine.
I'm not willing to do that kind of research, so. So,
Are there anything in the current ordinance right now that you guys people are based on what you're dealing with every day to day, something that if there's real like real, that's not real clear?
I think we definitely could clean up the maintenance all the time. The safety and maintenance, I think, would be a really good one to add more powerful language to, or like we speak to anything else.
I would say. Yeah. To be better lit.
Yeah, I think
So
we
it's-
probably
What specific on?
Yeah, it's more specific from the lot lines, not
in
in the corner, where this street and this street.
Well, the line is
You can't
So
see
this kind of goes
that.
back to
It's
the,
lot line, not sidewalk.
No, it's corner, street corner to street corner.
it's written very strangely. From the intersection, not necessarily.
Based on the constitutional stuff that you're having for us, to suggest that changes are about the same, anything like that, you guys also.
Yep, yeah, but we'll include kind of the language that we, so. For the next meeting, I'll have the constitutionality issues kind of spelled out. I'll also have kind of code enforcement and staff suggestions based on, you know, things that we've come across in the past. But then that's really when you guys are gonna need to weigh in. What this group is mostly for is to weigh in on the rest of the issues. You know, do we need to see changes to banners or flags or apron signs or the number of times, things like that is really what, we're hoping to get, because I don't want it to be a staff driven ordinance. That never feels good.
Clean things up.
Yeah, and staff can work on cleaning things up and making it constitutionally appropriate. You guys give us what you want that sign ordinance.
Well, if you drive through the town, basically, except for a few exceptions, it's pretty. You know, I think it's pretty beautiful, you know, there's nothing real flashy. I know there's a few areas that need to be, but as far as. Oversized. Per the law. Type signs and all, we don't have them, you know, like Whataburger doesn't have their sign way up, it's a nice
I
high.
mean, we have, and the reason you see that is because we do have the sign ordinance written the way that we do, and we allow only certain height and only a certain size. You know, there was some pre-existing signs before that we had to let be rebuilt, that we chose to let be rebuilt after the hurricane. So those are kind of the, you know, not standard ones that you see. But I do encourage you guys all to take pictures, shoot me pictures via email, if you don't wanna be the person that says. The sign, it's back to you, or I don't like, that person.
At some point too, there'll be like a legal review. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess it's just with, you know, council, unity for the years and everything else, it seems like a lot of the stuff they're dealing with are changes today that happened, and what happened yesterday, what we're dealing with today, what we best do moving forward. Just thinking of giving some wording where you can have the discretion where the PSC has the authority to. On a case by case, but not being, you know, appointed in the same way of council. And you guys too, from a city standpoint, you know, I'm sure there's certain items on here you wish you could. Be heavy handed on it, but it's not gonna be correct. So.
Yeah.
The advantages, I guess.
Yeah.
For certain areas that are great. It's not good here.
There are some things on there that, you know, we don't enforce for some people. But we don't allow snipe signs, which are like just those, you know, mosquito killer signs, that's the only people common. Where people just drive through town and put signs out to get this, we don't allow signs like that. But sometimes the chamber that signs up that are those kind of signs. You know, sometimes home game tonight signs get stuck out there. So by our ordinance written right now, that's not allowed, but do we want to allow some of those things sometimes in certain situations? We could probably come up with a way that would allow, you know, temporary events for those kind of things to be allowed. Signs
So
on
especially if
fences.
somebody's like the home game tonight or.
Shop around.
Yeah, shop around, things that are temporary. Yeah.
Then that comes back with the allow for signs, temporary, but
And so you have to find a way of. So what you want allowed, you know, do we want the chamber signs allowed? Do we want the home signs allowed? Do we want the political signs allowed? Do we want the mosquito killer signs? So you decide what you do want, what you don't want, and you have to be very careful in the language.
Oh, you allow.
You can write things in a way that, you know, for temporary events.
So you allow the home game, but not the field.
Correct, because you could say that it's a non-commercial, yes, and I'll have some more information on that, because it's a non-commercial. It's hard, it's very hard, but you can have a temporary event, so you can have a garage sale sign in there. Or, you know, it comes to time, place, and of where you're allowed.
Temporary type clubs would cover a lot.
You
They
could,
would cover the open house, they would cover the workout sales
Yeah.
day.
what you
Cover
could,
temporary events like.
What you-
Same thing,
Same
yeah.
things.
I need to have.
Temporary versus
For that. Yeah, yeah.
But that-
Yeah, there's
Mosquito
definitely.
killers is not a temporary event.
Right,
It's just like litter. In my opinion.
and there's definitely allowances
That's my.
for commercial versus non-commercial. As of right now, we can more regulate commercial language and then non-commercial language in certain situations. And I'll have more explanation of that. I didn't want to get too overloaded, I'll have more explanation of that in the next meeting. Showing. All right. You watch it on YouTube. I'm not positive, like if there was videotaping, just like our. They do that, it's live. It should be.
it's still live in today's meeting.
It's live when it's going. I don't know how well you can hear all of us here.
Yeah.
I do have this, so you might be able to hear this side of the table, a little bit this side of the table. I don't know, is it that or that? I will have a recording, you know, I've got a recording that I can also.
Yes. If I have a comment, I'll share it.
I do. Yeah, is it, it's probably. If you have any comments, what we've done today. That's what I would get to me, if you've got any pictures or any comments that I should read, the next packet, everybody can get on the meetings, that would be appropriate, we need to be that.
I know. Real estate signs temporary. Right now, they're getting.
Yeah, I think that's enough for today. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Christmas in English.
If you guys have, anybody that you want to invite to come to the meeting, feel free to do that. Part of me is. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.